the 10 teachings of the Buddha for a mind free from suffering and filled with inner peace. In this vast human journey, every person faces joys and sorrows, gains and losses, praise and blame. These waves of life arise and fade like the tides of the ocean. The Buddha, upon attaining enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree more than 2,600 years ago, discovered a truth that continues to shine today, that the human mind, when untamed, gives birth to suffering, yet the same mind, when understood and cultivated, becomes the source of unshakable peace. The teachings that follow are a modern presentation of 10 essential insights drawn from the Buddha's timeless wisdom. They are written as a single flowing discourse, a sermon-like teaching intended to guide the reader into deeper understanding, reflection, and transformation. These 10 teachings form a path not outside ourselves, but one discovered in the very breath, the very steps, and the very thoughts that arise within. Let this discourse be a companion on your journey toward inner freedom. 1. Understanding the nature of suffering, the first door to peace. The Buddha declared, "There is suffering." This statement is neither pessimistic nor discouraging. It is an invitation to look at life honestly. Suffering exists in many forms: disappointment, anger, loss, fear, loneliness, craving, confusion, and the constant pressure of expectation. When we deny suffering, we do not escape it. We only delay understanding. Like a wound that goes untreated, unacknowledged suffering festers. To recognize suffering is to take the first step toward healing. Consider the ways suffering appears. The suffering of change. Nothing stays the same, and clinging to permanence leads to pain. The suffering of attachment. The more tightly we hold, the more deeply we fear losing. The suffering of aversion. Resisting what life offers multiplies discomfort. The suffering of ignorance. Not seeing reality clearly creates confusion. The Buddha teaches us not to fear suffering, but to study it, understand it, and transform it. Only by acknowledging suffering can we begin the path to peace. 2. Letting go of attachment, the key to inner freedom. Attachment binds the heart, whether to possessions, relationships, status, beliefs, or identity. Attachment creates a cage not because the objects themselves imprison us, but because our clinging does. To let go does not mean to reject or abandon. It means to hold lightly, to love without grasping, to enjoy without becoming dependent. When we practice letting go, we free ourselves from fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the unknown. The Buddha said, "In the end, these things do not belong to you. Everything we cling to will eventually slip away. When we release our grip, we open space for peace." Letting go is a practice, not a single act. Each day offers opportunities to soften our hold. A breath taken deeply, a thought allowed to pass, a conflict surrendered rather than fought. 3. Cultivating mindfulness, sati, the art of living, fully in the present. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware of the body, the breath, the feelings, the thoughts, and the world around us. It is the opposite of distraction, autopilot, and forgetfulness. When we are mindful, the mind stops wandering into the past or projecting into the future. We begin to experience life directly without distortion. Mindfulness is both anchor and sanctuary. It brings the mind home. Practicing mindfulness, breathing deeply and feeling the breath, observing emotions without judging them, listening attentively without preparing a reaction, walking with awareness in each step. Through mindfulness, peace becomes possible in the very heart of daily life. 4. Understanding impermanence, Acha, the wisdom that softens the heart. All things change. The body ages, feelings rise and fade, relationships transform, seasons shift, fortunes come and go, thoughts appear and disappear. Nothing remains fixed. When we fight impermanence, we suffer. When we welcome it, we grow. Impermanence does not diminish the beauty of life, it enhances it. A flower is precious because it will not last forever. A moment is meaningful because it cannot be repeated. By understanding impermanence, we loosen our grip on things not meant to stay. We begin to live with gratitude, humility, and love. 5. Practicing compassion and loving kindness, Metta and karuna, softening the heart, healing the world. Compassion is the understanding of another's suffering combined with the wish to relieve it. Loving kindness is the wish for all beings to be happy and well. When the Buddha taught loving kindness, he described it as radiating in all directions, like the sun that shines without discrimination. Practicing compassion transforms the heart. It dissolves anger. It softens judgment. It reconnects us with humanity. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength. It allows us to face the suffering of the world without closing our hearts. When we cultivate compassion for others, we simultaneously cultivate compassion for ourselves. 6. Releasing the ego, discovering the freedom beyond I and mine. The ego, or the sense of a permanent self, is a construction. The Buddha taught that what we call I is a collection of changing elements: body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. When we cling to the ego, we create separation. I want, I fear, I deserve, I reject. This becomes the root of conflict. To see through the illusion of ego is not to erase the self, but to understand that it is fluid, interconnected, and interdependent. When ego softens, compassion deepens. When ego relaxes, suffering lessens. Freedom arises when we no longer need the world to confirm or protect our identity. 7. Right speech and right action. Living ethically as a path to peace. Peace is not found solely in meditation. It is also shaped by the way we speak and act. The Buddha emphasized, speak truthfully, speak gently, speak at the right time, speak with purpose. Words have the power to heal or harm. Actions have the power to uplift or destroy. When our speech and actions arise from mindfulness, compassion, and integrity, we create harmony around us and within us. Ethical living is not a rule. It is a practice that prevents regret, guilt, and conflict. 8. Understanding the law of cause and effect, taking responsibility for our lives. Every action has consequences. Every thought plants a seed. Every word shapes reality. Karma is not punishment or reward. It is the natural unfolding of cause and effect. When we plant seeds of anger, we harvest suffering. When we plant seeds of kindness, we harvest joy. To understand karma is to understand that we are not helpless. We shape our future through our choices. Awareness of karma empowers us to act wisely, to speak mindfully, to create intentions that lead to peace. Knowing that our present is formed by past actions, we treat this moment with care. 9. Developing wisdom. Seeing reality clearly. Wisdom is not mere knowledge. It is the ability to see things as they truly are, impermanent, interconnected, and without independent self. The Buddha taught that wisdom arises from 3 practices: listening or learning, receiving teachings, contemplation reflecting deeply, meditation direct insight through experience. Wisdom dispels confusion. It allows the mind to remain steady even in turmoil. A wise person is not easily shaken, for they understand that all conditions arise and pass away. Wisdom is the light that guides the mind beyond suffering. 10. Walking the middle path balance as the foundation of happiness. The middle path avoids extremes, not indulgence, not rejection, not passivity, not aggression, not blind faith, not rigid skepticism. Balance creates clarity. When the Buddha spoke of the middle way, he taught a path that allows the mind to remain calm, centered, and free. It invites moderation, mindfulness, and wisdom in all things. To walk the middle path is to choose understanding over reaction, choose presence over distraction, choose compassion over anger, choose awareness over habit. Balance brings harmony. Harmony brings peace. Conclusion: a mind free from suffering, a heart at peace. The 10 teachings of the Buddha form a living path, not a doctrine to believe, but a way to practice. Through understanding suffering, letting go of attachment, cultivating mindfulness, embracing impermanence, developing compassion, softening the ego, practicing ethical living, understanding karma, cultivating wisdom, and walking the middle path, we discover a profound truth. Peace is not something to be found outside. Peace is something to be cultivated within. These teachings are an invitation, a gentle call, a reminder that in every moment, we can return to our breath, return to awareness, return to the heart, and choose the path of freedom. May these teachings guide you. May your suffering be transformed. May your mind be clear. May your heart be at ease. May you walk the path of the Buddha, a path of compassion, wisdom, and unshakable peace.
Living in accordance with nature, the Buddha's teachings to let go of all suffering, finding peace every day. Good evening to all of you, fellow practitioners on the path, seekers of truth, and friends of the Dharma. We gather here today to contemplate a profound and utterly simple truth that lies at the heart of the Buddha's timeless wisdom. The cessation of suffering is found not by fighting the world, but by learning to live in accordance with nature. When we speak of nature, we are not merely talking about the trees, the rivers, or the mountains. We are speaking of the inherent, undeniable, and universal way things are, the fundamental laws, Dhamma, that govern all existence, both externally in the cosmos and internally within our own minds and bodies. The Buddha taught that our suffering, dukkha, arises precisely because we spend our lives resisting this reality, clinging to illusions of permanence, and demanding that the universe conform to our personal desires. The path to peace, therefore, is a path of radical acceptance and profound alignment. It is the practice of seeing things as they truly are, and letting go of the burden of holding onto what is constantly changing. Part 1. The nature of reality, the three marks of existence. To live in accordance with nature, we must first understand nature itself. The Buddha illuminated three fundamental characteristics, or marks of existence, that describe all conditioned phenomena. These are the immovable pillars of reality. 1. Impermanence, anicca. The very first mark of nature is anicca, or impermanence. Everything that is compounded, assembled, or born is subject to dissolution. This is the law of change. Consider your own body. It is a river, not a reservoir. In every moment, cells are dying and being reborn. The person who walked into this hall is not the exact same person who will walk out. Your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, all are in flux. The joy of yesterday is the memory of today. The sorrow of this morning will dissipate by evening. The resistance to impermanence is suffering. Our suffering begins when we try to freeze the river. We crave the beautiful moment to last forever. We desperately try to hold onto youth, wealth, love, or power, knowing intellectually they must pass, yet fighting that passing with every fiber of our being. This struggle is futile. It is like trying to stop the tide. When we cling to what is impermanent, we are inevitably left with the pain of loss, decay, and separation. Living in accordance with anicca. To live in accordance with impermanence is to cultivate non-clinging. It means viewing life as a continuous, dynamic process. It means appreciating a flower without needing to keep it from wilting. It means embracing change as the only constant, allowing life to flow through you rather than trying to dam it up. The practice is to mentally release things the moment they arise, accepting their nature to vanish. This is the first step toward lightness. 2. Suffering or unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. The second mark, dukkha, is often translated as suffering, but it is more accurately described as unsatisfactoriness, stress, or the inherent incompleteness of conditioned existence. It is the subtle friction created by the gap between our desires and the ever-changing reality of anicca. Dukkha manifests in 3 forms. Dukkha dukkha, the obvious suffering, physical pain, sickness, old age, death, grief, and emotional distress. Viparinama dukkha, the suffering of change, the pain that comes when a pleasant experience ends. The joy of eating a delicious meal turns into the mild discomfort of a full stomach. The thrill of a new possession dulls over time. It is the anxiety of holding on to happiness. Sankhara dukkha, the suffering of conditioned existence, the deepest, most pervasive type. It is the inherent instability of having a body and mind that are constantly being conditioned by causes and conditions. Our very structure is unstable, making it fundamentally unreliable as a source of lasting happiness. The nature of dukkha. Dukkha is not a punishment. It is a description of reality when viewed through the lens of clinging. If a hand is open, it is easy for a pebble to drop in and drop out. If the hand is clenched, holding onto the pebble, the hand and the pebble eventually become painful. The pebble is reality, impermanence. The clench is dukkha. 3. Non-self, anatta. The third and most challenging mark is anatta, or non-self. This is the ultimate nature of things, that nothing possesses a permanent, independent, unchanging self or soul. Our biggest mistake in resisting nature is the creation and defense of a fixed I, or mine. We identify with a collection of impermanent phenomena, the body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, the 5 aggregates, and declare, "This is me." But where is this self? Is it the body? Which cells? Which age? Is it the feelings? They shift constantly. Is it the thoughts? They are like clouds passing in the sky. The Buddha taught that the self is an activity, not a substance. It is a process of identification. A verb, not a noun. Living in accordance with anatta. When we see the true nature of anatta, the fear of impermanence lessens. If there is no permanent self to lose, what is there to fear? When we realize that the I we are defending is merely a label assigned to a fleeting collection of experiences. The need to control, acquire, and cling begins to dissolve. We can participate fully in life without taking the outcomes personally. This is the deep liberation, the spaciousness of mind that knows itself to be interwoven with the entire cosmos, not separated from it. Part 2. The source of conflict, the illusion of control. The gap between our desire for a permanent, perfect, and controllable self, and the reality of anicca and anatta, is precisely what the Buddha defined as the cause of suffering. Craving, tanha. Craving is the mind's attempt to impose its will on the natural order of things. It is the refusal to accept the raw, unedited footage of reality. The three fires of craving. Craving is driven by three underlying impulses, often called the three poisons: greed, attachment, raga, the craving for pleasant experiences, for things to be other than they are now, or for things to last when they are pleasant. This is the desire to acquire and possess. Hatred, aversion, dosa, the craving for unpleasant experiences to stop, for things to be removed or destroyed. This is the desire to reject or push away. Delusion, moha, the fundamental misunderstanding of reality, the mistaken belief in a permanent self and permanent objects, which fuels both greed and hatred. Our daily conflict. Every day, we wage an internal war against nature. When it rains, we wish for sun, aversion. When we are successful, we fear failure, attachment. When our plan falls apart, we become angry and frustrated, aversion, fueled by delusion of control. The path to peace is not about eliminating all feeling. It is about eliminating the reaction of grasping or pushing away the feelings and experiences that arise. It is about understanding that the external world is perfectly natural, and the internal disturbance is entirely self-made. Part 3. The Path of Alignment, the Noble Eightfold Path. How do we cease this conflict and align our internal world with external nature? The Buddha gave us the precise blueprint, the Noble Eightfold Path. This path is the practice of living mindfully, ethically, and wisely, the ultimate expression of living in accordance with nature. The Eightfold Path is often grouped into three disciplines: wisdom, prajna, ethical conduct, sila, and mental discipline, samadhi. 1. Wisdom, prajna, the seeing. The foundation of alignment is seeing clearly. This is how we begin to understand nature. Right view, samadhi, understanding the Four Noble Truths and the three marks of existence. This is the philosophical commitment to seeing reality as it truly is, impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self. Right view is the intellectual acceptance that suffering comes from craving, not from life itself. Right intention, samma sankappa, committing the mind to non-greed, non-hatred, and non-violence. It is the intentional turning away from thoughts that resist or corrupt the natural harmony. 2. Ethical conduct, sila, the harmony with others. Since everything is interconnected, another aspect of nature, our actions towards others are our actions towards ourselves and the entire system. Sila ensures our behavior supports, rather than disrupts, the natural harmony. Right speech, samavaka, abstaining from lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. Our words should reflect kindness and truth, fostering community and peace. Right action, samakamanta, abstaining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Our deeds must be non-harming. Right livelihood, sama-ajiva, earning a living in a way that does not cause harm to others or to the environment. This is ensuring our entire existence is a net positive contribution to the ecosystem of life. 3. Mental discipline, samadhi, the cultivation of presence. Wisdom gives us the map, ethics gives us the moral compass, and meditation gives us the muscle to stay present in nature, moment by moment. Right effort, sama-vayama, the continuous effort to prevent unwholesome states of mind from arising, to abandon those that have arisen, to arouse wholesome states, and to maintain those that have arisen. This is the diligent tending of the inner garden. Right mindfulness, samasati. This is perhaps the most direct practice of aligning with nature. It is the steady, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment of the body, feelings, mind states, and phenomena as they arise and pass away. Mindfulness is the mechanism of acceptance. When you are mindful, you are fully present to the reality of anicca without fighting it. Right concentration, sama-samadhi, the development of a deeply focused and collected mind through meditation, leading to states of absorption, jhana. This practice strengthens the mind to sustain the clear seeing of right view and the peaceful presence of right mindfulness. Part 4. Practical application, daily practices of accordance. The path is not only for the meditation cushion, it is for the marketplace, the home, and the workplace. Here are 3 key daily practices to live in accordance with nature. 1. Embracing the moment of suffering. When suffering arises, whether it is an argument, a physical illness, or the loss of a job, do not immediately seek escape or distraction. This is a moment where nature is presenting itself in its unadorned form. Practice. Stop, breathe, name the experience. This is feeling of tightness. This is anger. This is fear. Do not judge it as good or bad. Simply observe it as a transient mental or physical phenomenon. By giving it space and viewing it with bare attention, you interrupt the cycle of aversion, clinging against the bad. You stop fighting nature, and instead, you learn from it. You realize that even suffering is impermanent. Like a storm, it passes when you stop trying to push it away. 2. The practice of generosity. Dana. Generosity is a powerful expression of non-self, anatta. The attachment to possessions and wealth is one of the strongest forms of resistance to nature's flow. We cling to what we have, fearing scarcity and loss. When you practice generosity, you affirm the interconnectedness of life and the inherent impermanence of all things. You are consciously letting go of mine by giving freely, whether it is your time, your resources, or simply your kindness. You loosen the grip of the self-concept. You become a conduit for life's abundance, rather than a reservoir desperately trying to hold it all in. Generosity is the letting go of fear. 3. Cultivating loving kindness, metta. Our resistance to nature often manifests as self-centeredness. We categorize beings into us and them, friend and foe. This division is a violation of the deep, non-dualistic nature of existence. Metta, or loving kindness, is the boundless wish for the welfare and happiness of all beings. Without exception, it is the direct opposite of the desire-driven self that fuels suffering. Practice. Begin with yourself. Wishing yourself well, extend it to loved ones, then to neutral people, then to those you find difficult, and finally, to all beings everywhere. Metta dissolves the boundaries of the imagined self. It recognizes that, just like you, every being is subject to anicca and dukkha, and every being seeks happiness. In this recognition of shared vulnerability, the conflict dissolves, and peace naturally arises. This is how we realize the profound truth that we are not separate entities fighting a hostile world, but rather integral parts of a single, flowing, natural whole. Conclusion. The peace of letting be. The path of living in accordance with nature is not a passive surrender to fate, but an active, moment-by-moment engagement with reality as it unfolds. It is the courage to see impermanence and stop demanding stability, accept unsatisfactoriness, and stop demanding perfection, realize non-self, and stop demanding control. When the mind stops fighting the fundamental characteristics of existence, it naturally relaxes into its true, liberated state. Peace is not something to be acquired. It is the natural state that remains when resistance drops away. May you take these teachings into your daily life. May you practice the Noble Eightfold Path. May you find the profound, spacious peace that comes from simply letting the river flow, trusting in the natural order of things, and living fully in the present moment.
The Buddha's teaching, freedom of body and mind, living in contentment, the path to lasting peace and happiness. Good evening, honored community of practitioners. We turn our attention today to a teaching of profound simplicity, yet one that holds the key to unlocking true, unshakable happiness. It is the realization that the highest form of freedom is not found in possessing more, but in desiring less, in the practice of contentment, santuti, which leads directly to the ultimate goal, freedom of body and mind, kaya vimukti and cito vimukti. The world constantly whispers promises of happiness tied to acquisition, status, and control. The Buddha's voice, however, rings clear across 2 millennia, offering a radical counter-truth. True happiness is not an achievement to be earned, but a natural state to be uncovered when we cease the struggle of craving. Our suffering arises from the relentless, unsatisfied searching for something outside ourselves to complete us. The path to peace is the path inward, where we discover an innate sufficiency. Part 1. The foundation of liberation, understanding the struggle. Before we embrace contentment, we must understand why we are perpetually discontent. This is rooted in the fundamental framework of the Dhamma, the illusion of completeness. We are driven by tanha, or craving, which falsely promises that the next experience, the next object, or the next accomplishment will finally bring lasting fulfillment. But as we established in the understanding of the 3 marks of existence, impermanence, anicca, everything changes. The new object becomes old. The high emotion subsides. The successful moment passes. Clinging to the fleeting guarantees suffering. Unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. All conditioned things are inherently stressful and incomplete. The satisfaction derived from external sources is always temporary and conditional. Non-self, anatta. There is no permanent self or fixed entity to be satisfied. The constant effort to satisfy a non-existent, permanent self is a perpetual, losing battle. This continuous cycle of desiring, grasping, enjoying briefly, and then desiring again is what prevents both the body and the mind from finding rest and freedom. The inner fortress, mind and body as sources of disquiet. The concept of then tam tu tai, freedom of body and mind, requires us to look at how we hold ourselves captive. Captivity of the body, kaya. We suffer physically from the demands we place on our bodies, seeking pleasure, fearing pain, comparing physical appearance, and resisting illness or aging. We cling to youth and health, creating fear and anxiety around the natural process of decay. Captivity of the mind, satta, mana. The mind is captive to its own creations, judgments, stories, regrets about the past, and anxieties about the future. It is bound by the kleshas, defilements, greed, hatred, and delusion. Freedom begins when the mind stops generating these chains. Part 2. The practice of contentment, santuti and api-aikshata. The Buddha praised 2 closely related virtues as cornerstones for a peaceful life: santuti, contentment, and api-aikshata, fewness of wishes. 1. Santuti, contentment with what is. Santuti is not resignation or laziness. It is an active, joyful acceptance of one's current conditions. It is the wisdom that stops the search for more. A. Contentment with possessions, yatha labha santuti. This means being satisfied with the requisites necessary for life, food, clothing, shelter, medicine, without extravagant demands or attachment to luxury. The trap of comparison. Our dissatisfaction often stems not from genuine lack, but from comparing our situation to others. Contentment cuts this root of comparison. The liberation from burden. Every possession requires care, maintenance, and defense. Contentment simplifies life, reducing external obligations and freeing up mental energy for spiritual practice. The fewer things you need, the less vulnerable you are to loss. B. Contentment with effort, yatha sata santuti. This means being satisfied with the results of your honest efforts, regardless of whether they meet external standards of success. If you have applied diligence, ethics, and mindfulness, the resulting outcome is accepted. This protects the mind from the anxiety of demanding perfection. C. Contentment with the moment, yatha kama santuti. This is the deeper practice of accepting the present moment, the weather, the noise, the health, or the emotional state, as the inevitable fruit of past conditions, kama. When you accept the moment, you stop fighting reality. This acceptance is the beginning of peace. 2. Api aikchata. Fewness of wishes, low desire. This is the deliberate cultivation of low desire. It is the active refusal to allow unnecessary wants to take root in the mind. Api aikchata recognizes that every new desire is a potential seed of future suffering. By keeping desires simple and few, we prevent the mind from becoming a turbulent ocean of wants. The monastic ideal, while often emphasized for monks, this virtue is applicable to lay life through mindful consumption. Before acquiring anything, ask, is this truly necessary? Does this simplify or complicate my life? The reward. A mind with few wishes is a quiet mind. It is a mind that is robust against the inevitable disappointments of life because it has not placed its hope in fleeting externalities. The less the mind demands, the more it finds freedom. Part 3. The ultimate goal, freedom of body and mind, vimutti. Contentment is the practice, freedom is the result. When the mind is purified by contentment and ethical conduct, it naturally leans towards liberation, vimutti. 1. Freedom of mind, sito vimutti. Sito vimutti refers to the liberation of the heart or mind, achieved through the development of the four sublime states, Brahma viharas, and deep meditative concentration, samadhi. Metta, loving kindness, frees the mind from hatred and ill will. A contented person is not threatened by others and can genuinely wish them well. Karuna, compassion, frees the mind from cruelty and indifference. Mudita, sympathetic joy, frees the mind from envy and jealousy. Contentment means you don't need another person's success to diminish your own worth. Upekkha, equanimity, frees the mind from bias, attachment, and aversion. This is the ultimate freedom, where the mind remains steady and unperturbed by the 8 worldly winds, gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Contentment is the fuel for equanimity. When you are content, you can view the coming and going of all phenomena, both internal and external, with a balanced, unreacting heart. 2. Freedom of body, kaya vimukti. While the ultimate physical body is subject to the law of decay, kaya vimukti refers to the freedom achieved by withdrawing attachment and identification from the body. Mindful non-identification. This is achieved through the constant practice of mindfulness of the body, kayanapasana. We observe the breath, the posture, the sensations, and the elements of the body, earth, water, fire, air, without claiming, "This is I, this is mine." Acceptance of decay. By accepting the body as a conditioned aggregate, we free ourselves from the immense mental suffering associated with resisting illness, aging, and eventual death. The body may experience pain, but the mind remains untouched and free because it has let go of the attachment to the physical form. The unburdened abode. When the mind is free, sito vimukti, the body is naturally less burdened by tension, stress, and psychosomatic illness. The body becomes a peaceful instrument of the liberated mind, moving through the world with ease and grace. Part 4. Practical cultivation, making contentment your daily guide. How do we transform the theory of contentment into the daily practice of an easy and happy life? 1. The discipline of simplification. The daily audit. Regularly review your possessions, commitments, and relationships. Ask, which of these genuinely supports my path to peace, and which merely drains my energy or creates anxiety? Eliminate the unnecessary. Simplicity is a direct path to contentment. Mindful consumption. Apply api aichata to all consumption, food, news, entertainment. Avoid the craving for constant stimulation. Feed the body only what is needed for health. Feed the mind only what is conducive to peace. 2. The power of gratitude. Contentment is built upon a foundation of gratitude. When we focus on what we have, the desire for what we lack naturally diminishes. The morning reflection. Start each day by naming 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. Focusing on the simple, fundamental things: the breath, the shelter, the food you have, the health you possess. Gratitude for challenges. Extend gratitude even to difficult experiences, seeing them as teachers that sharpen patience, wisdom, and resilience. This recontextualizes suffering, transforming it into a source of inner strength. 3. Deepening mindfulness, samasati. Mindfulness is the operational tool of contentment. It anchors the mind in the present moment, where lack cannot exist. The present moment is complete. Craving and dissatisfaction can only exist when the mind is lost in the future, desire, or the past, regret. The present moment, when experienced directly, is always complete and sufficient. A single breath is enough. A single step is enough. Observing the wanting. When a wave of craving arises, e.g., I want a better car, I need that recognition, stop and observe the feeling of wanting itself. Note it as a mental formation, a ripple in the mind's water. Wanting. By observing it without acting on it, you sever the link between the thought and the action, and the wave naturally subsides. The mind returns to its state of natural sufficiency. 4. Generosity and non-hoarding, dana. Generosity, dana, is the physical expression of contentment. When you are content, you recognize you have enough to share. Giving away possessions, time, or knowledge is an active affirmation that your security is internal, not dependent on external accumulation. Non-hoarding keeps the channel of life flowing and prevents the mind from hardening into possessiveness. Conclusion: the quiet joy of sufficiency. The Buddha's teaching on contentment and freedom is an invitation to finally stop running. It is the realization that the treasure you seek has always been within the heart, veiled only by the restless dust of desire. The contented life, santuti, is the free life, vimutti. When the mind ceases its demands, the heart finds its natural rhythm of peace, ananda. May your body find rest in accepting its nature. May your mind find freedom in letting go of its demands. May you live each day knowing that in this very moment, with this breath, you already have enough. Live simply. Be content. Be happy. Listen to the Buddha's teaching. Look at the person next to you to know if you are receiving blessings or paying karma. Good day to all Dharma friends and seekers. We are gathered today to look into the most immediate, inescapable, and often complex aspect of our lives, our relationships. The Buddha offered a radical and liberating perspective on the human condition. Nothing occurs by accident. Every encounter, every bond, every moment of harmony, and every moment of conflict is rooted in the universal principle of karma, action. We often look at our partners, our children, our parents, our colleagues, or our friends, and wonder, why is this person in my life? Why is this connection so easy? And this other one so difficult? The answer, taught the Buddha, is that the person standing next to you, or the person causing you the most profound challenge, is the clearest manifestation of your own past actions. They are not random strangers, they are your mirror, your teacher, and, in a deep karmic sense, your debt or your reward. Today, we will delve into the profound teachings that allow us to decode this relationship mirror, helping us move from blind reaction to mindful understanding, and transforming every relationship into a tool for liberation. Part 1. The Law of Karma, the Fabric of Destiny. The core teaching of interdependence is karma. The Buddha did not teach a system of divine reward or punishment, but a neutral, natural law of cause and effect, similar to gravity. 1. Karma as volitional action, satana. Karma is primarily satana, or volitional intention. It is the mental impulse that precedes and directs all actions of body, speech, and mind. It is not the result, vipaka, that matters most, but the intention that seeds the karma. Wholesome karma, kusala, actions rooted in non-greed, alobha, non-hatred, adosa, and non-delusion, amoha, manifesting as generosity, kindness, compassion, and wisdom. Unwholesome karma, akusala, actions rooted in greed, lobha, hatred, dosa, and delusion, moha, manifesting as harm, theft, deceit, and malice. Every relationship we enter, whether it lasts 5 minutes or 50 years, is the inevitable result of a past volitional action, either ours towards them, or theirs towards us, or both in mutual agreement. 2. The relationship as vipaka, result. The person next to you is the living embodiment of vipaka, the fruition of karma. If you encounter someone who supports you unconditionally, who brings joy and ease into your life, Who helps you grow without demanding anything in return? This is likely the result of wholesome karma, a past action of generosity, kindness, or support that you are now receiving back. This is what we refer to as receiving blessings. If, however, you find yourself perpetually entangled with someone who is demanding, critical, deceitful, or causes you deep pain and frustration, this is often the result of unwholesome karma, a past action that is now requiring reconciliation. This is what we refer to as paying karma. The universal principle. The karma you enacted in the past dictates the nature of the people who appear in your life now. They are the stage, the script, and the co-actors for the completion of your own karmic narrative. Part 2. The mirror principle, reflection in relationship. The most powerful aspect of the relationship mirror is how it reveals not just past actions, but our current state of mind and unaddressed defilements, kleshas. 1. The immediate reflection. When a relationship brings you tremendous discomfort, the first reaction is always to point the finger outward. They're the problem. They are difficult, demanding, or wrong. The Buddhist approach turns the mirror inward. The discomfort you feel is your own suffering, triggered by the other person's action. If you react to someone's selfishness with intense anger, the mirror is showing you your own attachment to things being done your way. If you react to someone's success with envy, the mirror is showing you your own feeling of lack and your clinging to status, greed. If you are constantly frustrated by someone's pace, the mirror shows you your own impatience and inability to accept impermanence. The other person is simply acting out their own karma. Your reaction is the moment your own karma is being purified or reinforced. The person is the cue, your suffering is the response. 2. The interdependence of identity. In the absence of a fixed self, anatta, our identity is constantly being defined and reinforced by others. We are, in a sense, a collection of reflected identities. When you are around someone who praises you, you feel the successful self. When you are around someone who criticizes you, you feel the failure self. True freedom, vimutti, is realized when you understand that both these reflected identities are empty of inherent existence. The person next to you is not determining your worth. They are merely activating the conditioned view you already hold of yourself. The practice is to observe the reflection without identifying with the reflection. The mirror shows an image, but you are not the image. Part 3. The dynamics of receiving blessings. To receive blessings means to experience relationships that are built on ease, harmony, and mutual support, the fruition of past wholesome karma, punya. 1. Relationships of pure support, punya vipaka. These connections manifest as supportive conditions that facilitate your spiritual and material growth. These relationships are marked by the 4 aspects of the Brahma Viharas, sublime states, from the other person. Metta, loving kindness. The person genuinely wishes you well and acts with kindness towards you. Karuna, compassion. They offer help during your times of difficulty and sorrow. Mudita, sympathetic joy. They celebrate your successes without a hint of envy. Upekkha, equanimity. They respect your boundaries and allow you the freedom to be yourself, offering support without grasping or control. 2. The trap of clinging to blessings. Even beneficial relationships can become a source of suffering if we misunderstand their nature. The danger: we cling to the supportive relationship, believing the person next to us is the permanent source of our happiness. This creates anxiety, fear of loss, and demanding behavior. The wise view: a relationship of blessings must be viewed with gratitude and non-attachment. Recognize the person as a generous manifestation of the karma principle. Appreciate the support fully while understanding that, due to anicca, they too will change, and the dynamics will shift. By accepting the impermanence of the blessing, you prevent future suffering when the relationship naturally evolves or ends. Maintaining the flow: the best way to use the blessing is to generate more wholesome karma. Use the peace and support you receive to practice generosity, ethical conduct, and mindfulness towards others. Part 4. The dynamics of paying karma. To pay karma means to experience relationships that present persistent challenges, conflict, and pain, the fruition of past unwholesome karma. 1. Relationships of reconciliation, akusala vipaka. These relationships are difficult because they force us to face the consequences of past negative actions. The person who is causing you pain, anger, or fear is giving you a direct opportunity to settle an old karmic account. The debt of harm: if you were abusive or deceptive in the past, you may now encounter someone who is abusive or deceitful toward you. The debt of greed: if you were possessive or withholding, you may now encounter someone who clings to you or tries to control you. The pain is the purification. The challenge is the clearing of the debt. 2. The opportunity for transformation. The karmic debt relationship offers the greatest opportunity for spiritual growth, but only if approached with wisdom. The wrong response: reinforcing karma, reacting to the person's negativity with your own hatred, anger, or retaliation. This reinforces the cycle, creating new, fresh negative karma that will manifest in the future. You not only fail to settle the old debt but incur a new one. The wise response: settling karma. Approach the situation with patience, khanti, and forbearance. Recognize the person as your teacher, showing you exactly where your weaknesses lie. When they are angry, respond with kindness, metta. When they are demanding, practice generosity, dana, within your ethical limits. When they are challenging, observe your own frustration with mindfulness, sammasati. By responding with wisdom and compassion, you break the cycle. You pay the old debt without incurring a new one, thus freeing yourself from the relationship's negative karmic pull. The relationship has served its purpose and will often naturally soften, shift, or dissolve peacefully. 3. Deepening the practice of forbearance, khanti. Patience, khanti, is not merely enduring suffering, it is the active, deliberate decision to withhold the unwholesome response. It is the spiritual muscle that allows us to pay the karmic debt without compounding the interest. The 3 levels of khanti. A profound practitioner of khanti moves through 3 stages in a difficult relationship. Endurance, adavasana khanti. The initial stage where one physically and mentally endures the pain or provocation without striking back in kind. This prevents the immediate creation of new, severe negative karma. It is the basic defense. Acceptance, kamma khanti. moving beyond simple endurance to consciously accept the suffering as the vipaka of past actions. This acceptance removes the victim mentality, why me? Which is a subtle form of spiritual pride. When one accepts, the mind is settled, and the internal struggle against reality ceases. Transformation, Parinama Kanti, the highest form, where the suffering is actively used as a catalyst for growth. The difficult person becomes a priceless teacher. An externalized cliché that shows us precisely where our non-attachment is weak. We use the pain to generate metta and karuna towards the aggressor. Understanding that their action is rooted in their own suffering and delusion. This transforms the energy of conflict into the energy of spiritual power. Kanti and setting boundaries. It is vital to understand that Kanti does not mean passive submission to abuse or harm. Patience is applied to your own mind, restraining the urge to retaliate with hatred. It does not preclude right action, Samma Kamanta, which includes the ethical necessity of setting firm, non-violent boundaries to protect oneself and others from harm. Setting a boundary is an act of wisdom and compassion, not retaliation, and is fully aligned with Kanti. Part 5. The practice of mindful relationship, using the Eightfold Path. The ultimate goal is to transcend the duality of blessing and karma payment by seeing all relationships as opportunities for the Noble Eightfold Path. 1. Right view and right intention, wisdom. Right view, Samaditi. See the relationship clearly as kama vipaka, cause and effect. Abandon the delusion that this person is intrinsically good or bad. They are simply the result of conditions. Every interaction is a conditioned process. Right intention, Samma Sankappa, commit to non-harming, non-greed, and loving kindness within the relationship, regardless of the other person's behavior. This means your primary goal is purification of your own mind, not control of the other person. This shift in intention is the first moment of liberation. 2. Right speech and right action, ethics. Our relationships are the training ground for ethical conduct, sila. Right speech, samavaka, use communication to promote harmony and truth. Not conflict or deceit, especially in moments of tension. Abstain from harsh words or divisive gossip about the other person. Practice silence when speech cannot be helpful or kind. 4 principles of right speech in conflict. 1. Is it true? 2. Is it kind? 3. Is it timely? 4. Is it useful? If all 4 are not present, silence is the wisest response. Right action, Samma Kamanta. Ensure your actions towards them are always non-violent and respectful, even when setting necessary boundaries. Right action ensures that even if you separate from a challenging relationship, the separation itself is done ethically, leaving no new negative seeds of karma. Right livelihood, Samma Ajiva, in the context of relationship. This extends to ensuring your livelihood does not corrupt your ability to maintain ethical and mindful connections with your family, partner, or community. Avoid work that consumes all your time and energy, leaving nothing for the nurturing of wholesome relationships. 3. Right mindfulness and concentration, mental discipline. Mindfulness is the operational key to freedom in relationships. Mindfulness of feeling, vedana, when the person next to you speaks. Do not immediately react to the words. First, observe the feeling that arises in your body and mind: anger, sadness, fear, or joy. Label and release. Label the feeling: rising anger, contracting fear. By naming the feeling, you create a space between the stimulus, their action, and your response, your suffering. This space is your liberation. Observing interdependence. See the relationship not as I against you, but as two sets of conditioned aggregates, the 5 aggregates, interacting. The conflict is between their conditioned mind and your conditioned mind, not between two fixed souls. Right effort, sama vayama, the continuous effort to prevent unwholesome thoughts about the other person, judgment, hatred, revenge, from arising, and to cultivate wholesome states, patience, compassion, instead. In relationship, right effort is the commitment to look for the goodness in the other, even when difficult. Part 6. The relationship as a field for the paramitas, perfections. The Mahayana tradition emphasizes the paramitas, perfections, as the heart of the bodhisattva path. A relationship, particularly a challenging one, is the single most effective field for cultivating these perfections. 1. Dana Paramita, perfection of generosity. In relationships, dana is not just giving gifts, it is giving unconditional presence, forgiveness, and understanding. Giving time, kala dana. Giving your partner or child your undivided attention, free from distraction. Giving security, abhaya dana, providing a safe emotional space where they can be vulnerable without fear of judgment. This is vital in karmic debt relationships where trust is often broken. Giving merit, punya dana, dedicating the merit of your spiritual practice, meditation, kanti, to the welfare of the person next to you, especially the one causing you suffering. 2. Sila paramita, perfection of morality, ethics. This is the commitment to consistency and integrity in the relationship, ensuring that your words and actions are aligned with truth and non-harming, regardless of their compliance. This means honoring agreements, maintaining honesty, and upholding compassion even when you feel justified in being angry or vengeful. Sila in relationship is the unbreakable promise not to use your power to harm. 3. Kanti paramita, perfection of patience, forbearance. This is the central teaching for karmic reconciliation. Kanti is the recognition that the other person is a teacher, and their difficulty is the price of a priceless lesson. The willingness to suffer the present moment rather than escape into anger or blame. The acceptance that karma unfolds according to its own pace. You cannot rush the debt payment. The perfection of kanti means waiting with dignity and grace for the karmic knot to unravel. 4. Virya paramita, perfection of effort, diligence. In relationship, virya is the relentless effort to not give up on the wholesome response. When you have been hurt, the mind wants to retreat in hate. Virya is the spiritual exertion to continuously turn the mind back toward metta, even if you have to do it 1,000 times a day. The diligence to maintain your own practice, meditation, study, so that you have the mental resources to meet the challenge of the relationship with strength, not exhaustion. 5. Dhyana paramita, perfection of meditation, concentration. Dhyana in relationship is the capacity to maintain single-pointed, clear awareness during high-stress interactions. The ability to listen deeply, fully present, without simultaneously composing your counter-argument. The ability to see the other person's suffering, their dukkha, even as they are inflicting pain upon you. This deep focus cuts through the illusion of their anger being personal. 6. Prajna Paramita, perfection of wisdom. Prajna is the insight that illuminates the ultimate reality of the relationship. Emptiness, sunyata. Seeing the empty self. There is no fixed I who is being harmed, and no fixed other who is the permanent harmer. There are only momentary, conditioned processes interacting. Seeing the empty karma, the action being paid, karma, and the payment itself, vipaka, are all empty of permanent substance. This insight dissolves the solidity of the karmic debt, accelerating its dissolution, the moment you truly see that the conflict is empty of a fixed owner. The conflict itself loses its power. Part 7. The unbinding, releasing the karmic knot. The final stage of wisdom is not just managing relationships but transcending the very need for them to validate or define us. This is the path to nibbana, the ultimate unbinding. 1. The three gates of liberation, tri-vimoksha. To break the karmic cycle entirely, we pass through the three gates of ultimate wisdom. A. The gate of emptiness, sunyata. We see all relationship concepts, partner, friend, enemy, debtor, creditor, as empty of inherent, fixed nature. They are merely labels for a fluid, interdependent dance of conditions. When a conflict arises, we stop reinforcing the solidity of the concept, my spouse is always X, I am always right. Instead, we see the empty nature of the moment, which allows for immediate change and resolution. B. The gate of signlessness, animitta. We stop imposing past expectations, signs, onto the present person. We let go of the sign of what they were yesterday, or what they promised to be tomorrow. This is the practice of radical presence in relationship. You meet the person as they are now, free from the burden of their or your history. This is particularly crucial in long-term relationships where the mind is constantly comparing the present person to the signs of the past. C. The gate of wishlessness, apranahita. This is the ultimate contentment. We cease wishing the relationship were different, the person were different, or the outcome were different. We abandon the deep-seated desire for the relationship to provide permanent happiness, protection, or stability. We simply tend to the garden of the present connection without demanding a specific bloom. This absence of wishing is the absence of future suffering. 2. The final act of reconciliation. The highest act of paying karma is performed in the absence of a self and in the presence of unconditional love. When you offer metta to a difficult person, knowing that there is no fixed I giving the metta, and no fixed them receiving it, only the flow of wholesome energy, the karmic debt is not just paid, it is dissolved. The relationship then ceases to be a karmic obligation and becomes a simple, pure coexistence. Whether the two people stay together or separate is then determined by external conditions, not by the heavy, binding force of unresolved karma. The greatest gift you can give the person next to you is your own liberation. When you are free from the cycle of hatred and attachment, you cease to be a source of negative karma for them, and the entire system achieves harmony. Conclusion: the interwoven net of life. We must realize that the person next to us is not just a reflection of our past, but a necessary component of our present journey toward enlightenment. They are the field in which we sow the seeds of patience, kindness, and wisdom. Whether you are enjoying the sweetness of blessings or enduring the friction of karmic payment, approach the relationship with the same mindset. Gratitude. Be grateful for the lesson and the opportunity. Mindfulness. Observe your own reaction, not just their action. Forbearance. Respond with the highest ethical conduct you can muster. When we view every person as an integral part of the interwoven net of karma, the world ceases to be a source of random suffering and becomes a perfect, personalized curriculum designed for our ultimate liberation. May your relationships be a source of profound learning. May you break the karmic cycle with wisdom and compassion. May all beings find peace. Mindfulness in every breath, the art of living awake. Mindfulness begins with a single breath. It is the doorway through which countless beings have entered the path of clarity, compassion, and inner freedom. The Buddha taught that mindfulness of breathing is not merely a meditation technique, it is the foundation of awakening. Through the breath, we learn to return home to ourselves, to calm the storms of the mind, and to perceive reality with unclouded vision. This discourse explores the profound art of living awake, breath by breath. It is written as a long-form teaching, unfolding gradually, allowing the reader to settle into a deeper awareness. What follows is part 1, and I will continue expanding each section until the full teaching reaches 20,000 words. Part 1. The breath as the path to awakening. 1. The breath as the bridge between body and mind. The breath is the most faithful companion we have. From the moment of birth until the final moment of life, the breath stays with us, flowing quietly and continuously. It links the body and the mind in a way nothing else can. When the mind is restless, the breath becomes shallow. When the body is tense, the breath becomes tight. When the heart opens, the breath softens and expands. Thus, the breath is not only a function of nature, it is a mirror. To observe the breath is to observe oneself. To care for the breath is to care for one's entire being. 2. Why the Buddha began with breathing. Among the countless teachings of the Buddha, mindfulness of breathing holds a place of honor. It is said that the Buddha practiced it on the night of his enlightenment, and he offered 40 distinct instructions on breathing meditation throughout his life. Why? Because the breath is simple, universal, and always available. No matter where we are, walking, sitting, working, eating, we can return to our breath. Breathing is the natural anchor of mindfulness. It reminds us that the present moment is alive. It shows us the impermanent nature of all phenomena. It teaches us to let go, again and again. 3. The breath is a sanctuary of peace. In a world full of noise, distraction, and demands, the breath becomes a sanctuary. The Buddha taught that when we dwell in the breath, we create a refuge within ourselves, a place untouched by fear, desire, or confusion. To breathe mindfully is to rest in this inner refuge. Every conscious breath is a soft reminder. Here is peace. Here is safety. Here is home. 4. Breathing as a way to return to the present moment. The mind is often lost in the past or racing toward the future. We replay old memories, rehearse imagined conversations, worry about what has not yet occurred, and cling to what has already passed. But suffering grows only in these two realms, the past and the future. The present moment, when touched deeply, is always fresh, spacious, and free. Mindful breathing pulls the wandering mind back into the now. It is the thread that stitches us back into the fabric of life. 5. The breath as a teacher of impermanence. Each breath arises and disappears. No two breaths are the same. Some are deep, some are shallow, some are smooth, some are rough. The breath teaches us the great truth of impermanence, perhaps more clearly than any book or teacher could. To breathe with awareness is to practice letting go. With every exhale, we release what no longer serves us. With every inhale, we open to the new. Part 2. The practice of mindful breathing. 1. Establishing a place of rest. Before we begin mindful breathing, we create conditions for the mind to settle. We find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and allow the body to relax. The breath flows naturally when the body is at ease. The Buddha taught, just as a skilled woodcarver steadies their hand, one steadies the breath by establishing a calm place within. This place is not physical, it is the calmness that arises when we meet the breath with kindness. 2. Observing the natural breath. Mindfulness of breath begins with simple observation. We do not force or control the breath. We do not judge it. We simply witness it. Observe the rising of the inhale. Observe the falling of the exhale. Notice the pause in between. This gentle awareness brings the mind into stillness. 3. Recognizing the qualities of each breath. Every breath carries qualities. Long or short, deep or shallow, smooth or rough, warm or cool. The Buddha instructed practitioners to simply recognize these qualities without attachment. Recognition deepens awareness, and awareness leads to insight. 4. Breathing with the whole body. Advanced mindfulness involves feeling the breath with the entire body. The inhalation expands not only the lungs but the chest, belly, back, and even the subtle energetic pathways. The exhalation softens the entire body. When the whole body breathes, there is no boundary between awareness and experience. 5. Calming the breath, calming the mind. As mindfulness grows, the breath naturally becomes slower and more refined. This calming effect extends to the mind. Just as a lake becomes clear when its surface is still, the mind becomes clear when the breath is gentle. The Buddha said, to watch the breath is to tame the mind. Part 3. Deepening awareness through the breath. 1. Becoming intimate with the present moment. Mindfulness is intimacy with life. It is the raw, unfiltered experience of reality without the veil of projection, memory, or judgment. The breath becomes the doorway to this intimacy because it is always happening now. Whenever we breathe consciously, we step fully into the present moment, where all wisdom and freedom reside. To become intimate with the moment is to rest in what is rather than what the mind wishes life to be. It is a soft surrender, a quiet acceptance, a gentle opening. 2. Deep listening to the breath. Deep listening means listening not only with the ears but with the heart. It means receiving the breath without resistance, without interference. As we listen deeply, The breath slows. The mind softens. The heart opens. Deep listening reveals the subtle layers of experience, the faint vibration of inhalation, the sinking release of exhalation, the stillness between breaths. In this stillness, profound insight begins. 3. The breath as a guide through difficult emotions. When anger, sadness, fear, or anxiety arise, the breath becomes a compassionate guide. Instead of suppressing emotions or being overwhelmed by them, we hold them gently with mindful breathing. Breathing into difficult emotions does not mean pushing them away. It means embracing them with awareness. Breathing in, I acknowledge this emotion. Breathing out, I give it space to soften. The Buddha taught that mindfulness transforms emotions not by force but by understanding. As we breathe with an emotion, we see its impermanent nature. We see that it arises, peaks, and fades. We see that it is not who we are but an experience passing through consciousness. 4. Using the breath to transform stress and tension. Tension is stored in the body, in the shoulders, in the jaw, in the belly. These physical knots are reflections of mental knots, unresolved worries, old fears, hidden expectations. Mindful breathing is one of the simplest ways to release these knots. As we inhale, we bring awareness to the tension. As we exhale, we invite the tension to soften. Even if it does not dissolve immediately, the relationship to the tension changes. Instead of fighting the discomfort, we acknowledge it with compassion. Breath by breath, the body becomes a place of ease. 5. The breath is an anchor during turbulent times. Life is full of storms, loss, illness, conflict, uncertainty. The Buddha taught that awakening does not mean avoiding storms but learning to stand in the center of them with clarity and courage. The breath is the anchor that keeps us steady. When everything around us is shifting, the breath remains faithful. When thoughts spin out of control, the breath brings us back. When fear arises, the breath holds us gently. By returning to the breath again and again, we cultivate resilience. This resilience is not hard or rigid, it is fluid, like bamboo bending in the wind. 6. The breath and the opening of inner space. As mindfulness deepens, the breath begins to create spaciousness inside us. This inner space is where calmness blooms, where insight blossoms. It is spacious enough to hold joy and sorrow, hope and fear, clarity and confusion. The breath expands this space with every inhalation and softens it with every exhalation. Over time, the heart becomes wide like the sky, able to contain everything without being overwhelmed. 7. Breathing with acceptance and non-resistance. True mindfulness arises when we stop resisting life. Resistance takes many forms. Wishing things were different, denying emotions, controlling outcomes, clinging to expectations. The breath teaches acceptance. It flows naturally without being forced. It comes and goes without attachment. When we breathe with acceptance, we learn to meet life as it is. Acceptance is not passivity. It is clarity. It is the understanding that the present moment is already here. Our role is to respond wisely, not to fight reality. 8. The breath as a door to subtle joy. There is a joy that arises not from excitement, stimulation, or desire, but from simple presence. This joy is subtle, gentle, quiet, like the warmth of the morning sun. It comes when the breath and awareness move in harmony. The Buddha called this joy-piti, a bliss that arises from mindfulness. It nourishes the heart, refreshes the mind, and strengthens the practice. 9. Embodying stillness through the breath. Stillness does not mean freezing the body or stopping the mind. It means resting deeply in awareness. The breath guides us into this stillness, where we can see things clearly. When the mind anchors in the breath, a quiet serenity emerges. This serenity is the foundation of wisdom. 10. Conclusion of Part 3. Deepening mindfulness through the breath reveals profound insights about the mind, body, and heart. The breath becomes more than a physical function. It becomes a teacher, a friend, a refuge. Mindfulness in every breath, the art of living awake, anapanasati. The breath is the most fundamental, universal, and immediate object of mindfulness. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, and the most reliable tool for preventing karmic reactions in relationship crises. The breath is the anchor. The practice of anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, requires us to recognize the breath as it enters and leaves the body. This is our constant anchor in the turbulent sea of relationship dynamics. When arguments flare, when criticism lands, or when feelings of separation arise, the mind instantly contracts, and the breath becomes shallow, short, and trapped in the chest. Using the breath to break the karmic cycle. In a difficult interaction, the mind is racing, trying to define the other as an enemy or a threat. This is the moment negative karma is created. We must intervene by using the breath. Stop, samma samadhi. Immediately pause your verbal or mental response. Do not speak. Do not think the next argument. Breathe, samma sati. Gently bring your full attention to the sensation of the breath at the nostrils or abdomen. Take one slow, deliberate inhalation, feeling the cool air enter. Exhale slowly, feeling the warm air leave. This single moment of focused breath disrupts the automatic, conditioned chain reaction of hatred, dosa. See, samadhi, with the calm that the breath has restored. You can now see the situation clearly. The other person is suffering. The feeling in your chest is suffering. And the entire situation is impermanent. The power of shared breath. Furthermore, the breath reminds us of our deepest connection. We are breathing the same air, sharing the same space, upheld by the same universal conditions. The breath is the living proof that no I can exist independently of the other. Practicing full, deep presence in the breath allows us to meet the person next to us not with fear, but with the quiet, firm strength of an awakened mind. This is the art of living awake in every single moment of interaction.